Hey Al, so we're going to get started with one of the hardest projects of the school year, but don't worry, you're going to be fine. We'll be using 1 point perspective in order to draw kind of like a gallery hallway. I'm going to show you how to make this nice checkerboard floor, and you'll be making 3 different types of paintings in your frames. So there's a couple words that we're going to deal with in this project that you'll hear me say a lot. So one of those is depth, and the other is space. So we are filling our space and making it look like we're walking down a hallway. So we are creating the illusion of depth, the idea that there's more space in the picture, but obviously you can't go anywhere. It's just a piece of paper. So these are the words you're going to hear me say pretty frequently. Vanishing point, this is where our lines disappear to. Horizontal, which is sideways, and vertical, which is up and down. So we're going to be working on a 12 by 12 square paper. Put our name on it. We're going to flip it over, and then I'm going to give you this really long strip. I don't have rulers that reach all the way diagonally across this paper, so this is what we're going to use instead. The first thing you're going to do is going to be like make an X. So you're going to go from the top left-hand corner to the top or to the bottom right-hand corner and draw that line. Use this like a tracer. Now, I'm probably going to say this, 1,000 times. Draw light till you've got it right. We will be doing a lot of erasing. So I'm going to make my second diagonal line from corner to corner to complete my X. Awesome. So now in the middle, this is going to be where your vanishing point is. Just make yourself a teeny tiny little dot. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take care of the floor. That's in this bottom triangle right here. Before we do that, I'm going to teach you a trick. This trick you need to use every single time you make a vertical up and down line. This guarantees that your line is actually vertical and not crooked, because when you do things like this, it's really easy to fool your eyes. So you're going to put the ruler at the top of the paper. Make sure that it crosses through the dot, through your vanishing point. Now, when I say at the top of the paper, I mean make it nice and even with the top of the paper, or you're going to have a crooked line. Now, from the vanishing point, make a vertical line that cuts that bottom triangle in half. Okay. Next, you're going to take your ruler and put it on the vanishing point, and you're going to try and cut this space in half. Just eye it out. You don't have to measure or anything. Okay, and do the same thing on the other side. From the vanishing point, cutting that triangle in half. So once you've got that done, we're going to use the side of the ruler and the side of the paper, and we're going to make the end of the hallway really quickly. So we're going to make a horizontal line that just goes straight across the floor. Then you're going to make vertical lines on both sides that touch that top diagonal line, making sure that the ruler is touching the top of the paper so that you know you're getting a vertical line. Just close the space right there and right there. Then you're going to close the top space. Now, I like to turn my paper, but I'm still using the ruler trick where I'm making sure that the top of the ruler and the top of the paper are even. That'll give you the back of your hallway. That's this piece right here. Now let's finish the floor. So using the ruler so that it's even with the side of the paper, so you know you're getting a horizontal line, you're going to make 4 lines for rows of tiles. You're just doing the bottom triangle. Each row of tiles should get slightly bigger. So now these converging lines are starting to give you the feeling that you're able to walk into this room. Now we're going to do the ceiling. The ceiling is going to be kind of arched, kind of like a little dome. So all that requires are some curved lines that go from one diagonal line to the other. Think of it like a rainbow, and you want to make them as evenly spaced as possible. So that's the top of my ceiling. Now, this is the hard part. All of the lines that head down the hallway need to touch the vanishing point. And all of the lines that go straight up towards the ceiling or down to the floor need to be even with the top of the paper so that you know you're getting a vertical line. It's really easy to have crooked frames because you didn't follow those tricks. Now I'm gonna say it again, draw light until you've got it right. You need to make 3 frames, 2 on one side and 1 on the other. I have a habit of turning my paper as I draw. I find it easier. So I'm gonna put my ruler on my vanishing point, and I'm going to angle my ruler so that this space will be the space from the top of the frame to the top of the ceiling. Now I want to draw nice and light because I will be erasing some of that line. And I do it again on the bottom, placing my ruler on the vanishing point. This will be the space from the floor to the bottom of the frame. That's what it should look like. Do the same on the other side. Placing your ruler on the vanishing point, leaving enough space from the top of your ceiling to the top of the frame, a very light line. Do the same for the bottom. Okay, now we're ready to do the frames. Your frames will fit in between these 2 lines. You only need to make 3 frames. So, using the top of the ruler and the top of the paper to make sure that I have a perfectly vertical line, I'm going to close the space in between the 2 lines that you just drew. There's 1. Now, leaving enough space to draw a picture inside of it, I'm going to make another vertical line. This will be 1 frame. Now I'll do another one. I leave a little bit of space. Make sure that my ruler is even with the top of the paper, and I make a vertical line. Move it over, and I make another vertical line. So these 2 boxes will be my frames. Now I'm going to go ahead and erase all of the lines that don't belong to the frame. Now that I've erased those lines, you can better see that these are the 2 picture frames. Now we need to make the frame. You're following the same lines, but this time you're not drawing the whole line, you're just drawing inside of the frame. So, placing my ruler on the vanishing point and inside of the frames, I'm just going to draw the tops of the frames. That's it. Do the same for the bottom. Placing your ruler on the vanishing point, and on the frames, you just close the space of the frame. So that's the top and the bottom of my frame. Now the sides. This is the part where it gets tricky. If you don't use this top of the ruler, top of the paper trick, you will have crooked frames. There's the side of the frame. Do the same thing on the other side. And so now I have a completed picture frame. Okay, so there's 2 of my 3 picture frames. Your third one is going to be more like a rectangle. So I'm going to use the top of the paper and the top of the ruler, and I'm going to close that space just like I did. But this one's going to be a really large picture, so you're going to use the top of the ruler and the top of the paper, and you're going to close that space again. Okay, now you can go ahead and get rid of any lines that don't belong to that frame. Now we'll complete the inside of that frame again. So, top of the ruler, top of the paper, top of the ruler, top of the paper. Try to make each side nice and even. Putting my ruler on the vanishing point, closing the frame, ruler on the vanishing point, and closing the frame. So there is your pretty basic 1-point perspective gallery hallway. Now we're going to go ahead and trace everything in Sharpie. Try to take it nice and slow because you want this to be pretty close to exact. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. This box at the end of the hallway you can trace and fill in with black. Now trace everything in Sharpie. For the frames, I'm not gonna trace this spot where they intersect. I'm just going to trace the outside rectangle and the inside rectangle and erase the rest. So now that I've got it all traced in Sharpie, I'm gonna go ahead and take a second to cherry it up. And what I mean by that is I'm taking my eraser and getting rid of any pencil marks that I might still see. So by now, you must be wondering, what are we gonna put in those frames? Ah, excellent question. So you're gonna make a realistic looking drawing, an abstract looking drawing, and a non-objective. So we're gonna take a look at those three different big types of artwork, so that way you can create your own little artwork to fill in your frame. So this is gonna be like a mixed media type of artwork. We've used pencils, we're gonna use Sharpie, and we're gonna pick two different types of Sharpies, two different colors, to make our checkerboard pattern. I'm gonna leave one of my colors white, so I'm just gonna do the lime green. Now, so that I don't mess this up, I like to put myself a little line in here to help me out so I know which one to color. Now I'm ready to color in all of those tiles. So we're gonna do a little bit in the frames right now. I think that the easiest thing for you to do might be some kind of still life where it's objects in the picture that don't move, maybe something like Van Gogh's sunflowers, nothing too crazy. And then an abstract of that same picture. And then a non-objective, where a non-objective is not an object, not a thing. Think of using your shapes and lines. So here I have my still life, semi-realistic, the best that you can do, my abstract of that same picture. So there's like my vase and my flower stems and my other flowers. And then this one is just completely non-objective, not an object. That's the best way to remember that. If you would like a thin Sharpie to trace out your drawings, you can come on up to my desk and grab one when you're at that point. So now you're pretty much done with the drawing phase. Go ahead and color the rest of it in. I highly suggest one color for both of your walls, just to have it a little unity, and then maybe a pattern for your ceiling, but that's totally up to you. So now that I've got my walls done, now I can go ahead and do that pattern that I talked about in the ceiling. I'm just gonna go ahead and make it match to my floor. No sense in adding too many patterns. All right, ceiling's done. Now I'm gonna do the frames and then go ahead and finish coloring in the rest of my pictures, and I'm done.